What's My Line? Brought to you by Jif, the peanut butter with great peanut smell, great peanut taste, great peanut quality. And now let's all play What's My Line? And now, live from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a gentleman who has a very splendid new book out called The Ground is Our Table. The host of I've Got a Secret, Mr. Steve Allen.
Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce one of the prettiest ladies in show business. She's going into rehearsal tomorrow morning for a new Broadway play titled A Warm Body. Lovely Dina Merrill.
And I'd like to introduce my favorite publisher, Bennett, Cerf.
I've been introducing John Daly for 17 years now, but this is the first time I've ever introduced him with a quotation from scriptures. And this is the quotation. He multiplieth words, but he understandeth them not. John Charles Daly.
There's not much I can say. When he uses the good book on me, I will keep a respectful silence. But I shall get even in one degree or another. May I say, Miss Dina, how nice it is to see you again. And
Thank you,
Steve,
John.
as I've said so many times, it's like old home week when you're back with us.
Thank you, John. It is for me.
And we're very pleased that you two should be here tonight, particularly because I think Arlene and Bennett are going to have some fun. You'll all be somewhat in the mood of thinking you're seeing double before we're done with you. That will all come clear later on. We've got some very interesting occupations. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the program. But right now, let's meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Joan and Jane Ryba, right? Ryba. Now you see what I meant, panel. Now, is it Miss in both cases?
Yes, it is.
Miss Joan and Miss Jane Ryba.
That's right.
Correct? Fine. Where are you from?
North Hollywood, California.
North Hollywood, California. Terrible thing. I got this inner-ear trouble. I'm hearing things double. Well, may I present the Mrs. Ryba to our panel? And now will you join me over here, please? And we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that the Mrs. Ryba are salaried, that they deal in a product, and we'll begin things with Steve Allen.
Is it a product that a man might use?
Yes, it is.
You both deal in the same product, of course.
Yes. Right.
Is it also a product a woman could use?
Yes, she could.
Does it come in contact with the physical person when it is used?
Yes, it does.
Is it smaller than a bread box?
Sometimes.
Does it have any metal as one of its components?
Yes.
Any moving parts?
No.
1 down and 9 to go. Miss Merrill?
Do you hold it in your hand when
Yes.
you use it? Does it sell for under $5?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
I was just thinking it's a lucky thing there aren't 2 John Dalys up there. The
Well, this
Mrs.
will be one of the few Sunday nights when I don't look like 2 to you. Now we're even. Pursue this matter.
Mrs. Reba, might this product be defined as something that is worn?
No.
No. 3 down and 7 to go. Arlene.
Does the product give pleasure?
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything entertaining about the product in its use?
Yes.
Let
Could it-
me, if I may, put a caveat down here. I will agree that it certainly could be considered in a tangential way to have an element of entertainment, but do not burden this area too much because it would lead you astray.
Thank you, John. Is the product used indoors?
It can be. Yes.
Can be used both places?
Right.
When it is in use, does it come in contact with the person using it?
Yes.
Is it used in any way as a sport or a game or an activity of some kind?
Yes.
Does it does it go from person to person when it is used?
No.
No, I don't
Use
think.
it all by yourself?
Right.
Yes. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Allen.
Can you bounce it?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Dina Merrill.
Is it used in a sport?
Well,
That's a very good question.
Yes, yes,
A very good question. I will agree that it has an application of use in a sport since it can be and is sometimes identified with general sporting activity.
I've forgotten if I asked you or not, but can you hold it in your hand?
yes.
In other words, it is fairly small.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
sometimes, yes.
Is it made of plastic?
Partly.
Is it partly made of fabric of some kind?
No.
No fabric. Nice try, though. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Reba, can you stand on this product or get into it?
No.
Neither?
Neither. Neither either.
Neither.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Francis.
Can it be used on or near water?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Allen. This does not rule out the possibility that you could use it on or near water, but we presume the question was asked with a particular application to water.
Why
It
do you
has no
presume that?
application. Well, it helped things along. Steve?
When you're not using it and it's just hanging around, you know, waiting till a free weekend, is it more apt to be in one part of the house than another?
No, not necessarily.
No, not in one part. It could be kept in many parts of the house, depending solely on your discretion. 9 down and 1 to go, Dina.
Does it need to be plugged in?
No.
Doesn't need to be plugged in, no. It'd be very, very
Any
useful.
rubber in it? No.
Got any idea?
Any rubber in it?
No waste baskets, no. Actually, the Mrs. Jane and Jones sell barbells for weightlifting.
Forgive me, but where is the plastic in a barbell?
They coat the iron in this case. This is called the weight.
Yes, right. The actual weight is coated in plastic as well as the little clamp that holds the weight on.
I see.
It's called the weight line barbell sets. And you work in, actually, your home office where is
It's
yours?
in Houston, but we work in Southern California.
They have the Southern California territory, which will explain
what do
why
you
there
do
are
with
so
the
many
barbells?
barbell enthusiasts in Southern
You sell
California.
them?
Yes, we sell them.
Mhm. They work for Newman, Dukes, and Klein Incorporated. We'll get the address for you, Bennett, because I agree with you. You need them. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jane and Jones. Thanks a lot for coming to be with us. And whatnot. We'll have another contestant for you in just a moment after this word. And now to meet our next contestant. Will you sign in after you've entered, please?
Oh, no.
Preston and Russell Porter. Right, gentlemen? Gentlemen, may I ask where you're from?
Originally Whittier, California.
Originally from Whittier, California. Well, nice to have you with us tonight, and may I present our panel to Messieurs Porter. Now, if you'll join me over here, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that both Russell and Preston Porter are salaried and deal in a service, and we'll begin things with Arlene Francis.
I feel like I'm taking a drunk-o-meter test. Is your service one that, do you work for a profit-making organization?
No.
Oh.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you work then for city, state, or federal government?
Yes, we do.
Federal?
Yes.
Are you connected with one of the armed services?
Yes.
I got a 33 and a third chance. Going to be the Marines.
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Dina Merrill.
Well, I'll take another chance. How about the Navy?
Yes.
Oh. Are you land-based or sea-based? Oh, are you land-based, Navy?
Yes.
Do you have desk jobs?
Yes, so to speak.
Sometimes.
Yes.
But do you do a lot of work in the field?
Some. I think probably you'd do better to stick on the general land-based desk category, although we use those in very general terms.
Are you enlisted men?
No.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
I detected, Mrs. Porter, one irreverent note out in that audience before when you came on. Is this work that you do sometimes disagreeable to some other people?
Well,
No?
Let me speak, if I may, to this point, because I believe historically it is accepted that there are those who, if exposed to the particular work which they carry out, would perhaps consider that it was unpleasant. But we would not say it is overall.
I'm being misled, as usual, by Mr. Daly, but I'll fall for it. Have you anything whatever to do with the military police?
No.
Thank you,
4 down
John.
and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you have anything to do with enlisting men in the Navy?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Steve Allen.
Anything to do with medicine?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Dina.
Anything to do with naval intelligence?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Anything to do with enlistment or supplying of the supplies?
No.
No?
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Is any kind of detective work necessary in your job?
No.
9 down and 1 to go, Mr. Allen.
Anything to do with the waves?
Would you further define your question?
Make it easy on yourself, John. I don't care. No, I mean the ladies in uniform. Anything to do with them?
No, 10 down and no more to go. This is pretty tough, and we were sneaky on you tonight because actually Lieutenants Junior Grade Russell and Preston Porter both teach at the Naval Academy. They're presently teaching oceanography.
That's an outrageous thing of you to say that this is unpleasant to anybody. Everybody loves learning, John.
I was sure I read somewhere that somebody didn't. But the thing that interests me that you both went to Humboldt State in Eureka, California, Northern California.
Yes,
Well, that was one of the places.
But majored in fisheries and oceanography there.
Yes.
And then pro forma went into the military service, went to Newport to OCS.
Yes.
And then you wound up in Annapolis after, what, did you active duty at aboard ship anywhere?
Yes, we were on ships before.
What kind of sea duty they give you?
A supply type ship, reefers.
Are you all
Close in?
together?
No, we were on the same type of ship in the same home port, but different ships.
They put you on different ships?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see that doesn't happen again. I just, I'd love the thought of one of those skippers that you read about, like Captain Queeg coming on deck one morning and seeing the two of them on the same ship, one on this wing and one on this, and then old Queeg would really go off the end of the bridge and things would have been much better all the way around for the Navy.
Do you both teach the same thing?
Yes, we do.
Together, I would guess.
I must say, and I'm sure you won't mind, as twins, I don't know as I've ever seen a likeness so perfect as you two have. It's really just great. You just look very much like one another. Well, as the oldest Lieutenant Junior Grade in-grade retired United States Naval Reserves, gentlemen, it's nice to have had you with us.
Thank you.
We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, this message. Now the special feature of the program, the appearance of our mystery challengers, for which, as you all know, the panel is blindfolded. Are those blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in this case, we go to a different form of questioning, one question at a time, in turn moving clockwise, and we'll begin things with Bennett Cerf.
Well, there seems to be a pattern on this show tonight. Are there more than one mystery guest?
Yes. Miss Francis.
Twins?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Allen.
Do you work together?
Yes, we do.
Dina.
Are you related?
Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Cerf.
Are you brothers?
Yes.
Miss Francis.
Well, it's the brothers Karamazov.
That's right.
Are you brothers that appear in television?
Occasionally.
Mr. Allen.
Are you by any chance from a field other than show business, primarily?
No, sir.
2 down and 8 to go, Dina.
Do you have a regular series on television?
No.
Yes and no. Mr.
Yes.
Cerf. Yes and no.
Do you ever get smothered by the fans around you? Are you the Smothers brothers?
Yes. Well, I must say, Dick and Tom are wonderful to come tonight. We had a rather a feeling that with 2 sets of twins preceding them, you might get into, as Bennett did, more than one of you. But it was worth the game, because if you hadn't, we'd have had a ball. We had a lot of fun anyway. And,
How did you just come up with it right off the top of your head like
Well,
Right
I
off the top.
had a hunch.
Well, the nice
Such
thing
a famous brothers team. When Arlene said Brothers Karamazov, I started to say, before you'd even answered anything, the Smothers brothers.
As a matter of fact, John, when she said that, I thought she said, "Brother, tear your mask off," and I almost blew the game.
Well, I do not paint the lily in telling you that we're very tickled. Beginning next Sunday, both Tom and Dick, the Smothers brothers, are going to be on from 9 to 10 on CBS. And it's nice to have such nice folks in front of us. And
We're planning on having we were on one other time, and we're trying to move rapidly along and keep moving so that when questions like, do you have a continuing series, we can always say, well, sometimes.
It's a little hard, Dina. We had to say yes and no because it begins next Sunday again. They've been on regularly before, but are not currently. Well, from all that's happened tonight, we're in good shape next Sunday with you in front of us.
Well, we
so.
certainly hope so. We didn't help any of the other shows before us that we're in front of.
But maybe we'll change things.
This is the first time that we've had the opportunity of being on this show, and we enjoy it very much. You are undoubtedly one of probably the smoothest talking people, and makes a difference.
All right, Tom, I quit. Thanks for coming. Well, you've done very well, panel, so far tonight, and we'll have another contestant after this word. And now for a final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Ethel and Edna Armstrong, right? All righty. Is it in both case of Ethel and Edna Miss rather than Mrs.?
Yes,
The Mrs. Armstrong. Where are you from?
Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. Fine. The Mrs. Armstrong. May I present the panel? And now, if you'll join me over here, we'll let the audience at home and the audience here in the theater know exactly what your line is. Panel, we can tell you that the Mrs. Armstrong are salaried and deal in a service, and we'll begin things with Dina Merrill.
Do you deal in a profit-making service?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Is the kind of service that I would use?
Possibly.
Would I come to you for this service?
Sometime.
Would you also come to me?
Yes.
Would you more often come to me than I would go to you?
I think so.
I would say this. I think, Dina, this would depend pretty much on circumstance. What we mean to say is here you could go in to initiate, for instance, the granting of the service, and subsequently they might come to you. Equally, they might come to you in the first place because of a phone call or something like that.
In other words, this service could be performed in my home.
Yes.
If I worked in an office, could the service also be performed in my office?
Yes.
Oh. Would this service improve my physical state in any way?
No.
Nope. That's one down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Are there any more at home like you two girls? May I ask if it won't improve the physical service of the person for whom you're performing it, does that mean that you do not come into physical contact with the person that you're performing the service for?
That's correct.
Is there any kind of animal life involved in what you do?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Is there any paperwork involved in what you do?
Yes.
Do you ever take shorthand?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Allen.
Is there any kind of testing involved?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Dina.
Do you have to have a license to do what you do?
Not always.
Not always. Now, I'm going to throw all the cards over because we're running out of time.
Inventory
Guess.
of any kind?
Beg pardon?
Take inventory of any kind?
No. Anybody any ideas? Actually, the Mrs. Edna and Ethel Armstrong are interior decorators with W.J. Sloan. They're both graduates of Mary Washington College, have fine arts degrees. How long have you been with W.J. Sloan's in Washington?
A year, a little over a
A year? That's fun. Do you both go out sometimes on the same
Not too
job?
much right now.
Not too much. You go separately.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, fine. Thanks very much for coming together to see us. It was nice to have you on What's My Line. With the permission of the panel, since I have used up all of our time, I will say our good nights, having said again to Dina and to Steve how much fun it is to have you here with us. And Steve, we'll see you tomorrow night on I've Got a Secret, and we hope we'll see all of you next Sunday. Thanks for being with us tonight on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Cotton. With Francis Gown from Bonwit Teller, this is Johnny Olson speaking.